Hey there, friends. So, straight ahead or pose to pose? That's the fourth principle of animation. Simply explained, pose to pose animation is taking your idea, planning your animation, and setting up keyframes. Test out your timing, and if it works, go ahead with extremes and breakdowns, and finally in-betweens. Animating pose to pose gives you a beginning and an end point, and it gives you a guide. Also helps you keep volume and size consistency, makes your animation a little bit smoother, makes it easier for you as well because you're animating in between two poses now rather than flying by the seat of your pants. Now that you've seen the basic idea in this example done in pose to pose animation, I'm gonna attempt it straight ahead. Here I am drawing the character, walking over, drawing a frame at a time, one after the other, keeping in mind squash and stretch and the intent of him going over to pull on that weight. I don't really have a point of reference to animate into, as I'm kind of just animating straight ahead. There are problems when I animate this way. I often find myself losing volume. The spacing is a little weird. The character acting and timing may look a little bit odd. This is just not my preferred method of animating, but sometimes you end up with something a little more charming. I don't really know how to describe it, but because it's so loose, it gives a little more energy and spontaneity to the animation. I find that whenever I'm animating straight ahead, after a certain amount of frames, my characters always end up bigger or smaller or in the wrong place. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep in mind the example that I made, the pose to pose, and I'm trying to replicate that in my head, but I don't really have a clear direction of where I'm going. In this example, I'm trying to end the animation at the same place the pose to pose animation ended. And here it is completed with the main drawings. You notice how much my character has grown in the straight ahead version. It's almost, I would say, about 50 to 60% bigger. I've gained lots of volume and he ended up at a different place. When animating straight ahead, this tends to happen. There are some animators, however, that are very good at animating straight ahead and can keep their volume really consistent. I'm just not one of those. I'll go over timing charts in a second. There's some terminology you should know before we move on. The term on ones means there are 24 drawings for that 1 second of animation. On twos, there are 12 drawings done for 1 second of animation. Every drawing takes up 2 frames. On fours means there are 6 drawings done. Every drawing uses up 4 frames. On eights means there are 3 drawings for every second of animation. Every drawing takes up 8 frames. Timing charts for those who don't really understand that. The easiest way to explain this is with our friend the bouncing ball. So I'm drawing the first ball, we'll call it number 1, frame 1, ball number 15, frame 15. In the chart, I want my drawing number 11 to be at the middle. That would be called a half. From frame 15, I'd like the ball to return back to frame 1, making frame 21, or drawing 21, the half. Drawing number 19 is the half between 21 and 15. 17 is the half between 19 and 15. Here I am drawing frame number 21. Let's complete the previous chart, and I want the ball to slow out, to come out slowly out of frame number 1, speed up, and go into frame number 15. Number 9 is a half between 1 and 11. Number 7 is a half between 1 and 9. Number 5 is a half between 1 and 7. Number 3 is a half between 1 and 5. Number 13 is the half between 11 and 15. From 15 to 21, number 19 is the half. In this case though, I chose number 17 to be an additional extreme. From frame 21, the next frame is 23, and that's a half between 21 and number 1. The next one is 25, and that's a half between 23 and number 1. The next is 25, and that's a half between 23 and number 1. 27, 29, and 31 follow the same procedure, and they're halves, slowing into number 1. And here's the completed bouncing ball cycle. Both the chart and the ball have numbers on it, and you can see where they are in time. I hope this helps understand timing charts a little bit better. I am doing the bouncing ball exercise from left to right, straight ahead animation. I think I'm losing volume as I'm doing this, and the beginning and the end ball sizes are different. Here it is completed. It's decent. It moves okay, but you definitely can see the volume changes towards the end. There are also spacing issues in the beginning. When played at time though, it seems okay. Here I'm doing the bouncing ball, the same thing, but I am doing it pose to pose. So I'm planning and setting up the balls where I want them to be, setting up keyframes, breakdowns, and then in betweening them. If you paid attention to the timing chart, you can kind of visualize what is to happen. And here it is, completed. It takes a little more work to prepare and set up the animation, but you can clearly see that pose to pose produces a more consistent animation. In this example, the idea is this character wants to get on the next level, on the next platform. I will be drawing the main keys, keeping in mind anticipation and squash and stretch. Once those main drawings are done, I create a timing chart and test out my animation, see if it feels good. And here it is completed, not with in-betweens, just keys and breakdowns. Here I am attempting the same idea. Character gets up the platform, but I'm animating it straight ahead without looking or referencing the pose to pose example that I just did. As I'm doing this, I've already forgotten where the positions are exactly and what the keyframes are for the pose to pose. So I'm just going straight ahead. I basically know he has to squash before he jumps and he has to stretch before reaching the platform. Drawing straight ahead has also made me change my animation slightly. I no longer have him dangling and then pulling himself up. I could go back and implement the idea of him dangling and then pulling himself up, but because this is straight ahead animation, this felt like it was the right approach in this instance. Because straight ahead animation is so spontaneous, sometimes you end up changing your mind as you're animating. Pose to pose, you're locked into the frames that you already created, and you basically have to execute. I think that's about it for this one, guys. I think it turned out a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe and like. Catch you on the next one.